My name is Martin Smith. I am ex-Royal Air Force provost, but that was a lifetime ago. I started life as a behavioral psychologist at university and then joined the Air Force to become a fighter pilot, but that didn't work out. So I joined provost and had a fascinating career until the early 90s. But I got into computer security in 1981, which probably is getting up with one of the oldest in the trade now. But in those days, it was mainframes, copper cables, command and control systems, green screen, orange book stuff. And I developed the first tri-service training, which was rolled out in about 1984 onwards. And in fact, you can still see the pedigree when you look at the tri-service training today. In fact, I wrote a book in 1986 called Common Sense Computer Security. That's before the internet. And still much of it is pretty much current, apart from the fact that it doesn't tell any of the technical side. Left in the early 90s, a bit of this and that, and then set up my own company in 97 to address the human aspects of cybersecurity. And in 2004, set up the Security Awareness Special Interest Group. Which is what it says on the tin. It's a special interest group to discuss security awareness. I sold the security company, the Security Awareness Company, in just coming up for 2 years ago now, to retire and live on the cliff in Whitby, where I'm building a house. In the meantime, we're living on a canal boat, which is from where I speak at the moment. But then came lockdown. So I have to say that it's been a ghastly 18 months, but for SASIG, it has been transformational. So I just wanted to talk about what we do now and how it might apply. And just listening to the previous presentation, there may be lots and lots of people that have presented over the last 18 months that might be of use to you. So what do we do? Well, we are a networking forum for cybersecurity professionals. That's it. It's a no-selling environment. We call it a CISO safe zone. It is Chatham House rule. And prior to lockdown, we did about 35-ish physical meetings a year. A lot of it was London-based, obviously, but we tried to do the regions, and we had a couple of forays. We went to Copenhagen, and we'd been to the Channel Islands a couple of times, and I had plans to go to New York, mainly because I'd like to go to New York. And that's the great thing about running the SASIG. It's not a democracy. It's very much as I want it to be. And we did about 35 events, and we had about 3,500 members, and about 2,000 of those would come to one of the meetings or more during the year. All very nice. It was funded by what we call supporters. Now, they're not sponsors because they're not allowed to sell. But they are, my absolute basic principle, all my working business life has been that if you develop the relationship, then the sales will follow. And it's a drum that I've beaten for many, many years, is that the salespeople need to understand that, you need to woo a client, build a relationship. And in fact, I'll jump around if I may, Robin, but one of the things that we talked about during SASIG was what makes CISOs buy, what makes corporates engage with suppliers. And it was fascinating. It was absolutely clear as day. People will buy from people they know and trust, end of. Even if the product is cheaper and more and less effective, they'll still buy from that vendor they know and trust. And it came out very clear at the start that COVID was not a sales opportunity. If we didn't know you beforehand, we haven't got time to find out about you now. So this idea of building a relationship between the supply side and the consumer side has always been core to what we do. So we did about, as I said, 35 meetings here, and we covered all sorts of topics. It wasn't just about the human aspect. And we started to look at things like diversity in the security industry. And we hadn't really thought about mental health and wellness. We're all big, tough security people. We don't need all that rubbish. And then came lockdown. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time with the history here, except it has been fascinating. We all forget already, only 18 months ago, how suddenly all of our lives were turned upside down, and we were all scared, and we were all worried, and we were all frightened, and we were all unnerved, and we didn't know how our jobs were going to survive, and we didn't know whether the bread would be there in the mornings. And I suddenly realized that my community were scared. So I determined straight away, the team were absolutely gobsmacked. I said, we're going to do a webinar a day. And they said, what, you mean every day, boss? I said, yes, every day at 11 o'clock, we're going to be there, so that our community knows that at 11 o'clock in the morning, they can come and meet some people, friends, mates. No, it doesn't matter what we talk about. We'll just talk about any shit. But as long as we're there at 11 o'clock. And that's why Doris became such a feature. So we wanted to have that calm, comforting presence of me and Doris every day, just chatting. It took off. Gentlemen, I could not believe the response. We were having literally hundreds of people each day signing up to these webinars. Over the course of the last 18 months, we have done 380 daily webinars. Our membership has grown from 3,500 to, well, it probably is already now 6,000. So that's getting on for doubling in 18 months. We have done 380 odd webinars, attended by 4,500 of that 6,000. So 4,500 of that 6,000 are active, and they have visited a staggering 24,000 times. And it just rolls on. We're down to 3 days a week now, because we're starting to go back to physical events, and we want to try and get a mix, but even our physical events are streamed. So the online environment has proved transformational. You don't need to flog your ass down to London to sit in a room to listen all day to a series of presentations on technical subjects. You can do one a day, and you can slip away from your routine duties, or you can catch up. They're all recorded for an hour a day. And it has been the most extraordinary 18 months of my life. I feel privileged to have been able to do this. We had our first ever get together on Tuesday evening. We all got together at the RAF Club, our spiritual home, and we just put on drinks and dead things on toast. And we had 120, and do you know what? I chucked them all out at 9 o'clock after 4 hours. I said, this has got to stop. Most of them just went straight down to the bar below. And they were there till 1 o'clock. People were so, I mean, it was an emotional day. People were grown men were in tears that they were out and about meeting people again. So that's the SASIG story. We are beginning to go back into physical events, but we will continue in the online environment because it works so well. One of my passions, and has been for many years, is the skills gap, because I have this thing that the cybersecurity industry for many, many years has been inward looking and defensive and almost like, you know, we're a specialist, you don't need to know about us. A lot of spooky type people in there, a lot of ex-police type people in there, not a lot of public sector interest, not a lot of money invested, mainly devolved down through the CIO world into the closeted world of the CISO. It's our own fault. We've made this skills shortage, and the only way that the recruiters have responded is to try this feeding frenzy, where anybody that's got any qualifications are headhunted to more people at more money, and then they get hunted by their next lot of people, and round in circles. And we're feeding off ourselves. We're eating ourselves. There is not enough talent to go around. So any initiative to bring young people into our industry has to be applauded. And anything we can do to encourage people into the industry is what we want to do next. Now, therefore, I said 6 months ago, let's have a skills festival. And I chose the word especially. And our next one is next Tuesday. I said festival because I wanted it to be a celebration. Our industry is amazing. And I have to say that lockdown, the pandemic, has been transformational for cybersecurity. We've always been quiet and in the shadows. You know, a necessary evil. Businesses realized when everybody started working from home and our supply chains became increasingly vulnerable that we could not operate without cybersecurity. That's a different subject altogether, and one that I'm going to start to blog on. But, you know, this is an opportunity of our professional lifetime to start building up our industry now and to make it part of the top table like it should always have been. So let's try and bring more people into it in this celebration of what we're doing. It's an incredible career for young people. I mean, it is just the most amazing opportunity for someone to come into a completely new and evolving industry and make their mark and whip up through the command chain, make good money in a fascinating job. The Skills Festival is what it says. It's a conference where we discuss the skills shortage. And then at the same time, there is a jobs fair where companies can, they have a stall, literally a virtual stall where the delegates can go to and say, well, what are you offering? What's going on here? We've got at least 40 companies already, and they are people like MOD, DWP. I mean, all the big suppliers, all the big companies, Unilever, you name it, they're all there. They're offering hundreds of jobs. We have got 800 delegates signed up already, and the vast majority of those are graduates. The universities have been very responsive to this and have advertised the initiative. The more graduates we can get along, the better. They can go along to the 40 odd suppliers and just say to them, well, look, I'm young, I'm doing whatever at uni, and it doesn't have to be computer sciences, it can be anything. What opportunity do you want me? And that gives the stall holders the opportunity to see, you know, a good cross section of the next cohort of graduates to say, oh, he's a nice person, or she's a good looking opportunity there to get them in and get them recruited and get them trained up. I was chatting yesterday with somebody who works for Kaspersky, one of our supporters, and I said, what you know, he's only a young chap. I said, how did you get into this? He said, well, I was working in a bar and I was enjoying that and thought I need to do something a bit more serious. And one of the people in the bar said, well, come and have a look at what we do. And his degree is in history. He's got no CV to speak of apart from working in a bar, and was taken in by Kaspersky. He liked the culture, they liked him, and he's now 5 years later running a very serious job on business development side of things. Just a simple snapshot of someone that's got no knowledge of our industry, no technical training that would appear to be appropriate, and yet has gone into it, loves it, and is doing extremely well. I want more of those. There was a young lad lives up the cliff from us in Whitby, just doing a computer science degree. And he said to me, I've no idea, I'd love to get into cybersecurity. I have no idea how to do it. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to ask. I mean, that's tragic, isn't it? That we don't have a channel between the opportunities and the people that are looking for those opportunities. And that's what the Skills Festival is all about. So it's on Tuesday from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. You can graze as you wish, get registered. You go to our website, SASIG.com, and just sign up. You can come as a stall holder. If you are looking for anybody, then you can go as a stall holder. If you are just wondering who is out there in the pipeline, get a stall and let them, the kids come to you. If you're looking to transfer from your current employer to something bigger and better or different, then, as I said, there are 40 plus potential employers there with hundreds of opportunities available. And if you are an undergraduate, or if you have undergraduates under your wing and you can point them in this direction, get them to sign up, get them to come along, get them to wander around the exhibition, get them to chat to some of the stall holders about what sorts of opportunities might be available to them. The first one was in May, and I think there were about 600 jobs on offer, and about 100 of those were filled. But I think there were hundreds more conversations started, and I'll never know where they went. We'll never know how many of those turned into something. But, you know, if I'm going to leave a legacy on this industry after 40 years of working in it, it will be whatever I can do and whatever all we can do here as senior members of the community as well, to bring in new talent, to start to feed in a pipeline of young, no, not even young, but, you know, people from other industries, but yes, mainly young, more women, more people with neurodiversity, more people from ethnic backgrounds. You know, we're all white, straight British men, basically. And we need to bring in those people that we wouldn't normally reach out to because they don't fit our mold. And it's just, there is so much potential out there. And of course, we also got the end of furlough coming up. So there's going to be people, if you've got somebody on furlough after 18 months, you know, it's like that box of stuff in the cupboard, you don't need it. So a lot of those people, I think, will be finding themselves looking for new work. wow, what an opportunity for us to bring in bright young things.